Hey everybody, it's Murgle. Long time no see. Anyways, Classic is just over 30 days away now, and I'm happily preparing myself for the launch. But anyways, in recent times, since beta has shut down, people have mostly been discussing all the mechanics and all the things that Blizzard has said are part of the game and people believe they aren't, things like that. And I mean, there's just been lots of discussion about Classic for those things. And one of the biggest that people believe will ruin Classic is Leeway. It's got a lot of people throwing up their arms, screaming doom and gloom for the game if it's not fixed, and this video is more looking at it with curiosity, I could say. Anyways, let's just get into it. So what is Leeway? Leeway is an in-game mechanic that allows NPC and or players to hit you from further distance than your normal melee range. If you are both in motion, this is to account for a small amount of latency inside of the game, both server side and personal side, so that the players and NPCs can still fight at a normal pace. Now, Leeway is only in effect whenever a person or an NPC is in motion. So, for example, if I'm standing still and you're moving, you will now have a further reach on melee, as well as I will be able to hit you from a further distance. If we are both moving, then that range is increased another step, resulting in a rather far melee distance on each of our behalves. This can result in melee swings from far, far outside of the normal melee range for either target. So what's the doom and gloom about said mechanic? Well, the issue is people are stating that the mechanic, Leeway, never even existed, or it wasn't as prominent as it is in the current beta. Now, I wanted to make this video when the stress test went live, but the stress test got postponed for an unknown amount of time, so who knows when it might actually happen. And I'd just like to make this video, I guess, clarifying Leeway? I don't know how to put that, but you'll see. Anyways, as you can see, I'm going to show you how the mechanic currently works in the live version of the game. Now, I'll be showing you all three different types for Leeway. So first will be the normal melee range, where we are standing still, and each of us aren't moving, and how it hits from this distance. This is obviously the closest distance we will be at any point. In this part, I'm going to be showing you me moving, but my target is standing still. And you can see it increases a decent bit. It's not huge. But for this last one, the final one, we're going to be pretty far away, you can see. And then they're moving, they're running into the wall, of course, and I'm also moving at my distance, and I mean, you can see the gap. It's pretty far. We're hitting from a decent chunk, but that's how Leeway works. Now, of course, the footage I'm showing you is from the live version of the game, so people would state that this was simply added at a later date, and that it's not in Classic, it never was, so on and so forth. But I'm going to show you a little footage from a YouTuber by the name of Perplexity. This is the distance he is achieving on the beta, and you can see it's very far. Keep in mind that Tauren actually have a larger melee range because of their size. This is actually implemented into the race itself. Tauren slapping a Tauren can hit very far apart simply because of how big they are. But he's obviously hitting from very far away with the target he's slapping. Out of curiosity though, I wanted to try something a little different. Instead of the live game or the beta, I was curious if I could recreate this same thing on private servers, of all places. Because a large deal of the players who won in Classic servers were originally private server players advocating that Blizzard make Classic legit. But then these players are also the ones who are stating that with this feature, Leeway, in the game, it will be absolutely impossible to play Classic and it will ruin the game entirely. So, what did I do? I went on the most popular private server right now, and I went to the exact same location, used the exact same classes that are in this video, and with this side-by-side comparison, I'm trying to do my best to do exactly as Perplexity had done. And at least from what I can tell, the distance is pretty close, if not identical. So what intrigues me is that most of the people naysaying this have most likely been playing with it the entire time. This mechanic has been around since they've been playing, right? But anyways, let's delve a little deeper. A lot of people stating this are also saying that it is happening with NPCs, and it makes it impossible to play because of it. So I decided to level a character on the private server, try and recreate what this mage by the name of Knight on YouTube is doing, and he was demonstrating the leeway of monsters inside of the beta for like AoE farming. And again, this is my side-by-side comparison of me trying to pull the exact same monster at the exact same place. Forgive me if it's not perfect. Now on this, I might say that on the private server, maybe it is a smidge shorter. It does look like on the beta he's getting hit from further away, but I'm not quite sure. It could be the difference between graphics, it could be the difference between... I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it is a little shorter for monsters on private servers than it was on the beta. I can't really tell you. But to summarize though, do I think Leeway spells doom and gloom for the game like people play it out to be? Probably not. And do I think that Leeway was in the game this whole time, even during Classic before? Yeah, I actually do think that. It would make sense especially if you have two accounts and have ever played with them both side by side while playing the game. This would only make sense to you people out there that are playing two accounts simultaneously. If you have ever had both accounts running on the same computer screen, like you're on the exact same monitor, watching the accounts side by side, and they're flying on flying mounts next to each other, on one account you may be leading and flying, but on the other account, you're actually trailing and flying. You're seeing your character at two different positions on two different, computer windows, despite them being right next to each other and stuff like that. And it's very weird, because it's obviously the same computer. It's running off the exact same computer and stuff. So, I think Leeway may exist for these kinds of examples. What you're seeing might not be exactly what somebody else is seeing, despite you having great internet or anything like that. Not sure. I'm just using that as an example, and I'm sure other people who have ever played with two accounts can attest they've probably seen the same thing at some point. Anyways, I doubt Blizzard would intentionally add this just to mess with people. The thing is, we never notice this mechanic, especially nowadays, because every class has so much movement, every class has so many abilities that it's hard to say when you're tailing someone at 30% speed. You're nearly inside the character when you're in melee range nowadays. You're like on top of them. It's really hard to say where you're hitting them from your max distance because everybody's trying to be so close, right? The reason that is becoming so prominently noticeable now in the Classic Beta comes down to the fact that, number one, we aren't lagging like we used to in Classic, so we probably know exactly where everyone is on the map to a pretty good degree. It might not be exactly perfect, but we have a good idea of where everybody is at every point in time nowadays. Number two, Classic is absolutely a much slower pace than the current game and things like that. So a lot of the movement abilities just aren't there. You will be trailing somebody at a pretty slow speed trying to catch them, like running at normal running speed, and you can obviously see your character hitting from pretty far away, but both of you are in motion, so the leeway mechanic is kicking in. And number three, I believe most players have been playing with this forever. It's just becoming so noticeable, especially because of the beta and all those player-hosted dueling tournaments and things like that. It's become really noticeable with people testing mechanics and things like that. I don't think this has ever not existed. I think people are just noticing it heavily now because of our really fast internets and things like that. Anywho, thanks for watching. This isn't me advocating that Leeway should stay in the game. I mean, it's up to Blizzard however they decide to choose to do with it, but I'm guessing that most of us are used to it. We actually have been playing like this for so long. I don't think it's going to ruin the game as much as people believe it will because of how it looks. I wish I could test this on the stress test itself, but since it got postponed, I wanted to get some more footage. Unfortunately, I can't, since I don't know if that will even come out before Classic launches. You never know, they may have to postpone it straight up till Classic launch. Never know. Anyways, hopefully the two individuals I referenced don't mind me showing their videos. They will be linked in the description, as well as a link to my Twitch channel, which I promise will be unbelievably active as soon as launch happens. If you'd love to follow now, just to get ready, I will be streaming a lot on August 26th or 27th, whichever time zone you're in. Take care, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.